Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel and thank you for joining us today. As you can see, I'm still wearing my Jubilee dress. We hope that you enjoyed the Jubilee celebration. And for today's video, we're gonna give you a tour of our lovely garden.
And as well as the garden tour, we're going to be talking about our entry for the $50 February challenge. We'll explain more about that later. But to begin with, we're going to start off showing you our beautiful background flower bed. And Nadja is just going to show you the progress that it's made since you saw us actually plant it. The fuchsias and the geraniums are now looking absolutely magical. And she's going to try and show you some real close-ups of some of these gorgeous flowers. We've had heavy rain recently and it has affected them a little bit, but even so the fuchsias in particular are now starting to look absolutely spectacular.
Lovely.
And Naj is now going to walk down towards another smaller bed that we've got, which we planted some time ago with beautiful summer bulbs. And you can see that the alliums that we planted are already looking absolutely spectacular and are attracting many bees. And some of the other bulbs that we planted, like the dahlias, are now starting to come up and are starting to look as though they're going to flower before too long. So this was our bed of summer bulbs. We've moved on now to our orchard in a small space. You should remember a few months ago we actually created this orchard specifically to show how, if you've only got a small space, you can still have a productive orchard of fruit. And you can see that things are going very well here. The trees that we put in, the apple, plum and pear trees, you can see are doing well, and some of them have actually got fruit developing. We also, of course, put some fruit bushes in pots as well. And you can see that we've got our black currant, our blueberry and our gooseberry bushes here. And you can see that we've actually got some beautiful fruit on these trees.
Lovely.
Now around the outside we put some strawberries. And you can see that Naj now is going to pick up some of the strawberries here, because we put the strawberries into pots. And you can see just how healthy these strawberries are. But we're already starting to have problems. Yeah, but we've already started having problems with blackbirds. And so it may be that we're going to actually remove all of these pots and put them in a place away from the blackbirds, or else we're going to have to cover them up, because the blackbirds are already starting to cause a problem. But as I said, you can see how beautifully productive this fruit orchard is already. Over here we've got the rose bed that we planted up. If you remember, we put some David Austin roses into this bed. The very heavy rain that we've had recently has affected them to a certain extent, but even so we're quite pleased with how the roses are and how the other planting is developing that we put around the outside. Because we put fuchsias and geraniums and other things, and they're actually starting to grow very well now and are starting to be a real picture. In front of us here we've got some of the plants that we put into some pots earlier in the year. You can see that we've got a real collection of beautiful shrubs and flowers here. The dilapidenia in front of us and the hydrangeas are really in full bloom and are looking very beautiful. Some of the other things that we planted, like the azaleas, camellias and so on, obviously now have finished flowering, but they still look very beautiful. Another one of the things that we did was we planted up a herb garden in pots, in containers. We wanted to show how it's possible to have a lovely garden of herbs in pots that you can have just outside your kitchen window, so that it's very easy to go in and to come out and to collect herbs when you want them for the cooking. And here we've got pots with a lovely container garden of herbs. We've got a real collection of lots of different types of herbs, and already Nadge is using them all the time in her cooking.
Yeah.
About a month ago we planted up a series of containers to show that it's possible to have a very healthy and productive vegetable garden, even if you don't actually have a proper garden. You can just put pots and containers on a patio, even on a balcony, all sorts of limited areas, limited space. You can still grow beautiful crops. And this is just an update really showing how well these containers are doing. You can see that the crops are very healthy. Over on the one side we've got the strawberries over there. We've then got a series of salad crops like the salad onions, the tomatoes, the beetroot, lettuce and radish, before we then move on to some vegetable crops like the carrots, potatoes and some brassicas. They're all doing very well, and indeed some we've already harvested, because we've already harvested radish and we've already cut some lettuce from another pot as well. So it just goes to show that even if you don't have a very big garden, even if you don't have a garden at all, if you just got a courtyard or a patio, you can still grow lots of lovely food, lots of lovely crops to eat. Earlier in the year we planted summer bulbs in containers, mainly lilies but also gladioli and canna and others as well. And this again is an update on how well these have done. You can see that in front of us most of the containers have done very, very well, and there's some beautiful lilies developing and some gladioli behind. Unfortunately the cannas were a disaster. We didn't have any of them come to anything, which was a shame. But the rest of the things we're really pleased with, and before long they're going to be a lovely, lovely show of flowers. So we moved on now to the main vegetable garden. And the bed that you've got in front of us, you can see that we have onions at the front, and behind we have a lovely patch of gorgeous strawberries. Now it is showing you some of the lovely red berries that we've got there. We're going to be harvesting these strawberries, and as well as eating some, we're going to be trying to preserve some as well by freezing and make some jam, because we're really preparing for February. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about the February $50 challenge in a minute or two. But we're growing lots of crops this year because we need to freeze and preserve things to keep us going during the month of February. The second of our raised beds here, you can see that we have the Brassica Cage that we made a few weeks ago. And in there we've got a very big collection of brassicas, mainly calabrese, cauliflower, cabbage and sprouts. Some of the calabrese are almost ready for cutting, they're so well advanced. But some of them have only recently been planted, and Nadge is walking down to show you some that won't be ready for some time yet. They're much less well developed. But all of them look quite healthy, and we should have a lovely lot of brassicas this year, some of which we're going to be eating at the time, some of which we're going to be freezing. We're now thinking about potatoes. We have a raised bed here that is filled with potatoes in different stages. Some in front of us haven't been planted that long and they're only just coming through. Others that Nadge is pointing to now have been in there for a long time. So those are our main crop potatoes. Now also in front of us you can see that we've got lots of potatoes in containers. We've actually got 50 containers with potatoes. Some earlies, some second earlies, some main crop potatoes. And you can see that we've got an awful lot of potatoes this year because we need to store a lot of potatoes in connection with the February challenge. This lunchtime, Nudge wants us to try some of our new potatoes. So what we're going to do, we're going to empty one or two of these buckets just to see if we've got enough potatoes for our lunch. It's a little bit early at the moment, I think, but we're going to have a go anyway and see how we get on because Nudge really wants to sample some of our new potatoes. So let's start off with this bucket here and just see what we've got.
Started here. Oops, up. Oh, look at them.
Oh!
Lovely. Look at that.
Oh, I'm pleased with that.
I'm pleased.
That's just about enough potatoes for lunch, darling.
Lunch. Yes, wow. Lovely. Look at those. How many? Oh.
No, we won't need the other bucket. It's going to be fine.
It's fine.
There'll be enough there.
Wow.
Oh, that's really pleasing. So we can have some lovely fresh potatoes for lunch.
Yum, yum. Success.
This bed here is peas, and down at the bottom end there are some runner beans. So closest to us we've got several rows of peas that you saw us plant out using the sleeve cardboard method. And then at the back we've got some runner beans that have only just been planted and they haven't yet come through. They look quite healthy and we're looking forward to some lovely crops. This bed here is broad beans. Again, we've got an awful lot of broad beans because we intend to freeze quite a few to help us in our February challenge next year. The broad beans have been planted at different times, but you can see that some of them are really big and are actually have actually got beans to harvest. And so Nudge is actually harvesting some beans at the moment.
Oh my god. I couldn't reach.
You show them the beans. That's right. They look really lovely, don't they?
Yeah.
So this lunchtime we're going to be having our own new potatoes and we're going to be having some lovely broad beans as well. When they're young and small and tender, those broad beans are absolutely delicious.
Oh, I couldn't move it.
And we're going to be freezing quite a lot as well, as I explained, storing them. On the bed in front of us we've got a mixture of beans, runner beans, French beans, and down at the bottom end we've got some other vegetable crops, including carrots and courgettes. So this bed is quite a mixture of different things. This is one of our greenhouses, and in here we've got tomatoes and a few sweet potatoes as well. These tomatoes have been planted at different times, they're at different stages. They're all reasonably healthy at the moment. You can see that some of the tomatoes are starting to develop.
Oh, what's that? Oh, there's coming in one. Oh, they're coming up here now. Young and lovely.
We've now moved into the Polytunnel. And as you can see, we're looking at the strawberries in pots that you saw us plant some time ago. Nudge is now harvesting some of these lovely strawberries.
Yes, these are
the advantage of growing them here is that it keeps them away from pests. The horrible slugs don't get to them, the blackbirds don't get to them, and so we think anyway that it's a really good way of growing strawberries. Now as Nudge is harvesting them, I'm just going to walk down a little bit further to show the whole line of these strawberries. And as well, we have some strawberries actually in a bed here. And they too are growing very, very well. And we should have some beautiful strawberries from here too.
have dessert, strawberry.
We certainly are.
Yeah, afternoon bid.
As well as that, we've got a few other things planted in here. We've got some pak choy there. Over on this side, we've got some later tomatoes. And we've got cucumbers. Along the front, we've got some lettuce planted. Over there, we've got a carrot box where we're growing quite a few carrots. Over there, we've got a mixture of peppers, chilies, and aubergines at different stages, some much bigger than others. And here we've got a lot of peas that we are growing. You can see all these peas have been planted in trays using the cardboard sleeve method, and these will soon be planted outside when they've got just a little bit bigger. Now Naj is working really hard harvesting these beautiful strawberries. I'm really looking forward to lunch today.
Yes.
Because we're going to have our own broad beans, our own potatoes, and for dessert we're going to be having our beautiful juicy strawberries.
Yes, sweet.
And let's hope that we've got lots that we can preserve for early next year. They look really pleased. I'm very, very happy about this.
There's a big one in there.
Yeah, you be careful.
Oh,
yummy. So this then is Nadji's basket of goodies. This is all the produce that we've just harvested. Looks
wow.
absolutely
Yum, yum.
great. Now, finally, Nadji's going to show you a bed down here. Now this bed that we've got, it wasn't used last year. As you can see, it's actually it needs repairing and everything. It wasn't in use last year, but we're going to use it this year. We've got the wood already, the timber, to actually repair the sides of it. And we're going to really make it into a nice bed because we're going to grow more and more food this year. As I told you right at the beginning, we're one of the teams that have entered the February challenge. Where you only have $50 or the equivalent of $50 to spend on groceries during the whole month of February. It's a challenge that comes from the US. I'll actually give you links at the end in the description so that you can find out more about this challenge. But basically it's something to promote self-sufficiency. It's something to encourage people to grow more of their own food. And so Nadja and I are only going to spend a maximum of the equivalent of $50 in the month of February on food, on groceries, which means that we've got to grow a lot more this year. We've got to try and store, preserve, freeze food to help us through the month of February. That's why we're bringing this bed back into use. We're going to repair it, we're going to plant it. You can see that already we've got some parsnips and we've got some leeks and various things on here, and some pumpkins here, and we're going to be planting even more things. We're going to grow a lot more food this year, and we're going to preserve, we're going to freeze, we're going to make jam, all sorts of different things, because we've got to try and get through the month of February not spending more than the equivalent of $50 on food. Hope we succeed in our challenge. We will see. Thanks a lot for watching our video. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much.